The 5-star match is the gold standard among subredditors. The hardcore wrestling designation, often awarded to underground matches and renegade promotions, is meaningless and completely subjective. If you wrestle in AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, or you're a 5-star merchant like Will Ospreay or Kenny Omega, a 5-star rating is all but guaranteed. Star ratings are championed by Dave Meltzer, who turns 200 this year. Like Dave, they've been around forever, so they've cultivated an underground following. Also like Dave, the star rating system has overstayed its welcome, leaving a trail of internet darlings in its wake, broken, injured, paralyzed, and in some cases, deceased. Today, we're going to talk about the undeniable damage that the 5-star match has had on countless wrestlers and why Dave Meltzer's fetishizing of strong style has had a negative and sometimes deadly impact on the physical well-being of some of his favorite wrestlers. Subscribe in Creole. The 5-star match has no criteria. It is not an objective rating, let alone a rating at all. It's just 5-star glazing. Getting 5 stars in the Observer just means Dave Meltzer has an unhealthy crush on you. If you run fast enough, jump high enough, hit hard enough, and most importantly, drop your opponent on their head and neck to the point of potentially career-ending injury, you will be a strong candidate for a 5-star match. It helps if you're white or Japanese. Objectively, most 5-star matches are great. Subjectively, they serve as a low-rent marketing machine for Dave Meltzer to brainwash his audience about what real wrestling is. Real wrestling isn't an all-black match because no exclusively black match has ever received a 5-star rating dating back to 1982. In fact, the list of black wrestlers to receive 5-star ratings is shorter than Bryan Alvarez. That actually makes me happy because most 5-star merchants end up a physical mess. I'd never wish that on anybody, but I especially don't want to see my people bound to wheelchairs because their knees gave out while chasing a fucking shape. Except Ricochet. I hope he ends up in a wheelchair. I'm just playing Twitter, Ricky. You know we tolerate you. Swerve Strickland, who is one of the few black wrestlers to ever receive a 5-star rating. And now that nigga's on the shelf with a serious knee injury, get well soon. British wrestler Michael Oku received a 5-star rating, if nothing else, for wrestling Will Ospreay. During the Forbidden Door pre-show, he was all like, "Killer, oh no! Oh my God!" See? He almost died, but he didn't actually die. The 5-star style isn't that dangerous. Nobody needs to know what matches result in what rating. Dave Meltzer himself doesn't even know the difference between a 5-star match and a non-5-star match.
I was blown away to learn Kurt Angle's never had a 5-star match.
Yeah, but he's had tons of 4 3/4, which is basically the same thing. It's just like the little.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's really just a bullshit rating that Dave Meltzer gives away based on personal preference to New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW, a New Japan copycat league created by matchmaker and longtime Wrestling Observer fanboy Tony Khan. Every generation, there's at least one wrestler who rises above all as the poster boy or poster Japanese girl for the 5-star match. Most 5-star merchants left standing are often unable to run in the ring, let alone walk. AEW Forbidden Door's main event was a depressing showcase of all the damage the 5-star matches caused across multiple generations. Will Ospreay, Dave Meltzer's current crush, bawled on his way to the ring because he knew he was gonna have to go away for a year due to legit neck surgery. This was baked into the story of the match, as is the case with most star merchants like Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, whose angles with Ospreay ironically centered around the Tiger Driver 91, a move where Ospreay literally dropped his opponent on their neck. 4 of the 5 babyfaces in the Forbidden Door main event, including Ospreay and Omega, are in the top 10 for most 5-star matches ever. A list that starts with Kota Ibushi. Kota Ibushi was a standout wrestler in Japan. He cut his teeth in DDT before becoming a legend in New Japan Pro Wrestling alongside fellow Golden lover Kenny Omega. In fact, the only person who loves Ibushi more than Omega is Dave Meltzer. Meltzer showered Ibushi with 13 5-star matches, almost half of which were higher than 5 stars. This is being written before the star ratings for Forbidden Door come out, but given all the blood, injury, attempted assault, and adjacency to death, you can safely add another 5-star match to Ibushi's resume, even at 43 years old and a broken down shell of his former self. Meltzerian prototypes like Blota Ibushi are often shoe-ins for an AEW contract. This has been the case with Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Bryan Danielson, who has 11 5-star matches, all of which came with AEW. Danielson returned to AEW to announce overseas because despite being one of the best in the world, his 5-star style forced him into semi-retirement after his own history of serious head and neck injuries. Ibushi recently signed a 2-year deal with AEW despite looking washed during his original stint with the company. A man once considered among the best in the world during New Japan's golden era can barely pull off a moonsault. So if you're one of these so-called best in the world prototypes, you better also have some of the best surgeons in the world. I'm at the end of my legs, and it could end at any time. I wanted to preserve the time I had left before I couldn't do it anymore, and that's why I was allowed to participate today. I'm really over the edge, but I want to finish contributing to the world of pro wrestling, so I'm participating in various events. Hiroshi Tanahashi, number 8 all-time on the 5-star glazing list, is a New Japan icon. When he returned to AEW on the Go Home Dynamite, he couldn't even run on his way to the ring during a melee. His high-fly flow was more of a high-fly flop that lacked explosiveness, but at least he won the gold medal that night for race walking. Tanahashi is currently on a retirement tour with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but his body retired years ago. Now president of New Japan Pro Wrestling in an era of declining business, New Japan's ticket sales are doing an impression of a 5-star merchant at the end of their career. The one babyface wrestler on Team Paralysis who wasn't a top 10 5-star merchant was Darby Allin. But that's because Allin has the least ring time of his teammates on Team Paralysis. Allin, who already has a 5-star match in his young career, is known for his death-defying stunts. Allin's reckless style is guaranteed to shorten his career. He admitted as much in an interview with the Wrestling Perspectives podcast. I'm all in or nothing, for the most part. And I always made a commitment to myself that I'd rather have a real short career and then just push it hard every day than just try to focus on outside projects when the time's up. As of right now, I feel like I'm just gonna keep going and going and going until my wheels fall off. If the Wrestling Observer newsletter was a Bible, which it is to some people depending on how many hairs are on your neck, the part about going until your wheels fall off would be the first verse. Meltzer 3:16. This balls-to-the-wall, career-shortening mission statement is the perfect mindset for the 5-star mentality, and that's what makes it so dangerous. Dave Meltzer often tries to save face by saying he doesn't approve of the reckless style conducive to the 5-star match. Dave wants you to believe that he often gives 5-star ratings to matches that he hates because of how dangerous they are. What? His mind's telling him no, but his copy's telling him yes. I'm starting to get it. It's the newsletter that gives those 5-star ratings, not Dave the person. Dave Meltzer is full of shit. If he really cared about the levels of danger that wrestlers and secondary promotions are willing to stoop to, he would penalize dangerous spots through his ratings. Instead, he rewards them. Despite whatever this leather-faced carny says, Dave Meltzer wants wrestlers to risk their lives and careers to validate his imaginary star rating system. It's a fetish that's darker than anybody realizes. Mitsuharu Misawa once held the record for most 5-star ratings with 25 5-star matches. Misawa is arguably the greatest Japanese wrestler of all time, with main event runs in All Japan Pro Wrestling and as the founding father of Pro Wrestling Noah. Misawa checked all the boxes of the prototypical 5-star merchant: Japanese, hard-hitting, Japanese, physical, and Japanese. Anybody who had the pleasure of watching Misawa perform was subject to some of the most intense professional wrestling matches in the land of the rising sun. But on June 13th, 2009, Misawa took an errant back suplex from Akitoshi Saito. As Misawa lay motionless, a tag match scheduled for almost 40 minutes ended prematurely at around the 10-minute mark. Unfortunately, so did Misawa's life. The legend was pronounced dead later that night. Misawa's death should have been a precautionary tale about 5-star wrestling and those inspired by it. Instead, pro wrestling has only become riskier with every new generation of 5-star merchants, including the current poster boy, Will Ospreay. Especially Will Ospreay. Will is out indefinitely with another major neck injury. Ospreay was foisted onto Tony Khan by Dave Meltzer's comedic glazing of his matches, which have resulted in a hilarious 53 5-star ratings. That's almost 1/5 of every 5-star match to ever exist. But much like last generation's Meltzer darling Kenny Omega, Ospreay has spent just as much time off AEW TV with serious injury as he has on TV without one. Will Ospreay is clearly on borrowed time, but Meltzer continues to desperately fantasy book his golden bird into an AEW world title win.
Just the way they did that angle, I just thought that like they really have a shot if he can come back and be Will Ospreay, or even 70% of Will Ospreay.
Despite all the imaginary star ratings Ospreay has compiled in his time with AEW, Will Ospreay has not been anything close to a draw for the promotion in real life. In ring, especially when healthy, he's out of this world. He's pretty good even when he's not healthy because AEW kind of turns a blind eye to health issues when there's a 5-star match on the line. Either way, Ospreay is constantly dealing with injury, and not just nagging injuries that come with the territory of being a wrestler. Will Ospreay is the poster boy for 5-star matches, and he's also the poster boy for the type of career-threatening injuries that are guaranteed when you spend a career impressing a 65-year-old man. With 0 AEW world titles to his name, Ospreay's current sample size in Jacksonville puts him closer to a flop than a savior despite all that talent. Dave Meltzer would look like a fool if his favorite wrestler flamed out of his favorite promotion, which is in the range of outcomes based on how his neck surgery goes. Will Ospreay is so synonymous with Dave Meltzer, it's the most common question he gets.
Do you think you're as good as he thinks you are?
No, because like when you talk about guys like Kurt Angle and he hasn't got one 5-star match, I'm nowhere near the level of what Kurt Angle is.
As we sit here right now, you have 25 5-star Dave Meltzer matches, and you're at some point, probably this year, going to break that record and have the most 5-star matches. Do 5-star match ratings matter to you?
They don't matter in terms of my financial gain.
You now have
47.
48. Is this wild to you?
I don't look at it. I do not look at it. It generally makes like no difference, right?
Meltzer's love for Ospreay outshines Will's wrestling career in all of his matches, especially to the casual fan. Dave's in too deep. 53 5-star matches deep to be exact. So he'll just have to keep forcing the Ospreay narrative no matter how grim Ospreay's career outlook gets. The smartest person on the top 10 5-star list is Kazuchika Okada. A once record-breaking star rating fiend, Okada is widely considered the greatest New Japan wrestler of all time. But after securing that bag with AEW, Okada does next to nothing in his matches now that he's been paid by Tony Khan. As I've stated in previous videos, I fully support this. It's unclear whether Okada is physically washed or just uninterested in giving his body to the AARP pentagram gods. What's important is the Rainmaker realizes that this deadly style is unsustainable. Dave Meltzer has no time for the countless physical injuries caused by star chasing. He's already moved on to his next generation of 5-star merchants. This includes totally drug-tested Kyle Fletcher, who is quietly developing a reputation for dangerous spots. Konosuke Takeshita's recent G1 win certainly took years off his career. Takeshita has become a breakout star in AEW, which is like having a viral video on MySpace. As part of his breakout year, Takeshita earned his biggest career highlight with a G1 win. Of course, it came at a price. Clearly worn down after the grueling G1 schedule, Takeshita was knocked out during a G1 match against Zack Sabre Jr. After suffering an obvious head injury, Takeshita was loaded onto a plane like cattle and shipped to America to wrestle fellow 5-star merchant Tomohiro Ishii, who unsurprisingly can barely walk.
The problem is that Ishii can't do a run-in, so he just did a walk-in that lasted a long time.
Meltzer has a rule where he never watches a WWE match after watching a G1 match, I guess because he likes to save the death for last. It's easy to dismiss any serious injury in wrestling because that's just the name of the game. There are plenty of WWE stars who wrestled a watered-down style that still required surgery. But that's a cop-out. It's bullshit whataboutism that distracts from an obvious trend when it comes to a certain style of match. Hulk Hogan didn't take any major risks in most of his WWE matches, but if he did things differently, he wouldn't have used the leg drop as his finisher. I'm sure a lot of 5-star merchants wake up in the morning and after taking 2.5 hours to get out of bed, maybe they wish they would have wrestled more like New Japan Hulk Hogan. And while injuries are common in wrestling, serious injuries are far more common among those who lust after the incel immortality that comes with getting a silly-ass gold star in a newsletter. Very few, if any, perennial 5-star wrestler is included in the discussion of wrestling's biggest draws, which is the most important aspect of wrestling. That's why they call it the wrestling business. Friend of the show, cousin Phil Brooks said it best.
If you're more happy with some goof saying that you had a 5-star match and the building's a quarter full, we're not in the same business.
Check out this video and subscribe. Do 5-star ratings still matter? Tell me in the comments!